Well, thank you. Thank you for having me back. Barnabas has been a major part of our journey, and so I'm so appreciative for all of the help that Barnabas has given to us over the years. As Murph alluded to, several years ago, I came to Barnabas. At that point, Administered Justice was kind of a small organization. We were exploring ways that we could grow, that we could get the word out of the need for justice for the poor, the lack of access to justice in this country. And we had a group here that met. As you know, we're going to be meeting and exploring a big question here a little bit later that I'll appreciate your insight on again, because that helped out of that came the idea of a book. Well, that book now exists today, and it's yours as my thank you to you as a free gift. So please grab one of those books before you leave today, because I want you to be able to read the stories. Barnabas is in the book. The work of business leaders, as they have provided information, as they provided their advice, their skills, and their resources are highlighted in the book, because it's a part of the justice movement that could not take place without a partnership between lawyers, churches, and business leaders and individuals who are all a part of God's kingdom work in bringing justice to the poor and the vulnerable. The Bible would call them the widow, the fatherless, the alien, and the poor, or the least of these. So I appreciate all of your help and what you have done in making that possible. Gospel Justice Initiative also, I want to say, grew out of a meeting that we had. You have these separate meetings between your quarterly meetings when you can have brainstorming sessions, really great advice sessions. And it was in one of those sessions that the foundations for the national movement, that we could take the tools that were laid here at Administered Justice and take them across the country. And that was the birthing of Gospel Justice Initiative, that I began full-time in January of this year when someone else took over for me at Administered Justice here locally. And since that time, we've been blessed to see 12 organizations open across the country as they are meeting the legal and spiritual needs of the poor and the vulnerable. And we hope to see many, many more of those. So what we are is an association of individuals that are so important, and churches that join together to serve the legal and spiritual needs of the poor. Why is it important? Because I believe justice is the foundation to our democracy and to God's kingdom. It's built on a throne of justice and righteousness. Yet 1 in 3 Americans cannot afford an attorney. All people need access to justice and access to Jesus. With the hope of the gospel, the help of a lawyer, the support of a church, true justice is possible. As I said, the book grew out of suggestions that were made here. Moody published it. Many wonderful people, as you saw, have supported and are continuing to support the work of justice across the country. And so I definitely want you to have a copy of that book, and please share it with others and let others know about the opportunity to bring the gospel and to bring justice to the poor and vulnerable. What do I mean? Well, let me share with you just one story, and the book is filled with hundreds of stories of neighbors, people that live near you that need help and the opportunity to do so. Now, let me say again that many Barnabas members have volunteered with Administered Justice. In fact, Len, who's running our all of the slides and everything, his wife leads one of our local branches in one of the churches at Christ Church in Oak Brook as a volunteer, and gets to see firsthand the impact when an attorney, when individuals who are non-lawyers use their skills and abilities around a church to serve people in need. So Ken and Wilma are who you see pictured there. Ken was separated from Wilma at an early age. Wilma was deaf and mute. And at the time, they believed that those individuals were retarded, could never raise anybody, and so he was forcibly taken from her, placed into foster care, eventually adopted. His mother was taken and put into a mental institution where she suffered all kinds of abuse and was just shelved. Ken, for years, wanted to find his mother. He wanted to be reunited with her. He wanted her to be a part of his life, of his wife, of his family, and he searched for her. And after many years, because of the great blessing of the internet, his wife actually located someone who knew where his mother was. And so he traveled to another state. He found her alone in an isolated little area in this institution, and he went to her, and she knew who he was. She recognized him, and she reached into her pocket, and she pulled out a little piece of paper that had his name on it, that she had held on to for 30 years, wanting to be reunited with her son. But this is across state lines. He's no longer her son legally. He's been adopted. He has no right or no authority, no legal basis to just incorporate her into his home like he desires. He needs lawyers. He needs lawyers across state lines. This is complicated. This is expensive. Ken's in ministry. He's a Salvation Army sergeant, and he does not have the resources to be able to do this. But he knew of administered justice. He connected with us. We assembled a team of lawyers who, at no cost, reunited he and his mom so that he could obtain guardianship, so she could come live with him, and so that they could be part of a family. And they now are part of a family unit together. She's learned sign language. She's able to communicate with her grandchildren and be a part of their daily life because lawyers and the church and individuals partnered together to bring justice for the poor and vulnerable. These are our neighbors, and they do need our help. Now, how do we plan to do this? On a local level, we do great chicken dinners. It says not another rubber chicken dinner. I will tell you that Mr. Justice does the best chicken dinners that there can be. Very inspirational events. Pastor Choco is speaking this year, one of Times Magazine's 100 most influential leaders in the world. Very powerful speaker. So on October 23rd, if you mark your calendar, and I've got flyers on it at our table, please do join Administered Justice, the local ministry, at a rubber chicken event. But it'll be very inspirational, very powerful, a chance for you to be a part of justice and the work of justice. But for those of you who, but nationally, that's a lot harder thing to do. We weren't going to hold rubber chicken dinners across the country. So it's membership driven, a model that by those churches who are become part of members, they can support the work through that. That's a sustainable model for us, and then we will do some fundraising. We support our values. We talk with the church about our values of the church, being church-based, being church-centered, gospel-centered, justice and initiative. And we're really the only group. You've heard of other groups, you'll hear other presentations that are similar. There aren't Christian legal aid organizations anywhere in the country. They do not exist. And this is our call to lawyers to live out the calling and the gifts that God's given to them. We do that based on the support of two great organizations, Administered Justice, Neighborhood Christian Legal Clinic in Indianapolis. They have more than 50 staff, more than 35 years experience, a lot of tools, a lot of ability to support lawyers in this work. John Robb started legal aid in this country. The government does get involved in legal aid. Then he found Christ as a savior at an older age, and then started Christian legal aid in this country, one at a time, and then started, along with myself, Gospel Justice Initiative. What I'm asking you to do is to take a book. Please read it. I think people need to be aware of the needs of our neighbors that are so hidden in America. We sometimes push aside the poor in this country, believing that somehow it's a moral failure or a failure on their part, when that's not the issue. They are made in the image of God. Every person has dignity, and being able to just be aware of the issues, share them with other individuals, connecting with us through social media. We do a lot on social media involving students. We have a whole student program from high school, college, law school, to encourage students to get involved, to want to go into law for the right reasons, not just to make money, but to make a difference and to be involved. And then we'll talk later about our big question, which is how do we involve individuals? How do we set up a feeding system to encourage churches, to encourage individuals to get more involved, to go deeper in these issues of justice that are so close to God's heart. So I look forward to spending some time with you. I thank you again for all of your support in the past, and I know that this day there will be that kind of support that will be given, and who knows, to God be the glory what the future holds. Thank you.